Hey everyone, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, everyone. Woo. Okay, enough of that. It's Sunday. It's too loud. It's too early. Oh my gosh. Guys, welcome back to the Kempire channel. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook, The Kempire and Kempire Daily on Facebook. We're also live on Twitch, Twitter, and behind the scenes here on TikTok. Shout out to everyone watching on TikTok. I told you that I would watch the Wendy Williams documentary on Lifetime last night, and we watched it together on TikTok. We had a really great conversation about what we were watching at the time. I also told you on Twitter that I had to really prepare myself before watching this documentary because it is very intense. There are a lot of heavy topics that are being discussed here. And as you already know, Wendy's team, her care team, released the information this week that she has been diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia and aphasia. All right. And I said, I don't know if I trust this diagnosis. I don't know if the family even knew that they were going to come out with this information. But after watching the Where is Wendy Williams documentary, it's hard to deny what is going on with Wendy Williams. I want to preface this by saying we are not experts in alcoholism. We are not experts in dementia or brain issues or mental health. We are not. However, if you've had the experience, please feel free to share. Replay crew, please feel to share any experience that you have, because so many people in our TikTok chat last night said, my mother is going through this. My grandmother's going through this. I've gone through this in regards to alcoholism. So we're going to talk about some heavy topics. So if this is triggering to you today, I just want to give you a heads up. I am going to go through some of what went on in the Where is Wendy Williams documentary, and I'm going to be critical. We're gonna laugh, because if you are a real Wendy-nista, a real Wendy Williams fan, then you know she's taken some of the darkest things in life and made it funny, or made it humorous, or made it a little bit lighter. And we're going to try and do that as much as we can. We're going to try and do that because there are some heavy topics. But Wendy Williams, just naturally, she's not a comedian, but she's just naturally funny. So there are moments in the Where is Wendy Williams documentary that you can't help but giggle, or you can't help but be like, oh, there goes Wendy. There goes Wendy. So we're going to talk all about that, and we will take some live callers today so you can share your thoughts on the Where is Wendy Williams documentary that aired. Part 1 aired last night. Part 2 will air tonight. Part 2. But they're broken up in like episodes, so it's like episode 1 and 2 last night, and then tonight will be like 3 and 4. We're going to talk all about it. We're going to break it down, but first, let's, do what we need to do. And be sure to like the video, guys. Be sure to share the video, and we will be uploading an audio version. So for those that want to take us on the go, listen to us in the car, you can hear all of that on the Kempire podcast. All right. And while you're there, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Let's get into the Where is Wendy Williams, a Lifetime 2-part documentary.
Baby, baby, won't you listen to me? I got that flavor. I know you're dying to feed. I ain't no dancer, just got some hip in my feet. Now throw your hands up. Ooh, you bring the lighter, I got the fuse. You make a fire, I'll add the fuel. Follow me, lady, just watch your shoes. Gotta turn the heat up to get this cool.
Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your #1 source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. This is a special live show that we're doing here after watching part 1 of the Where is Wendy Williams documentary. And I have lots of thoughts, and I'm sure all of you have lots of thoughts as well. Buckle up, go grab a snack, get something, because like I said, If this is too heavy for you, please feel free just to step away. Look, I appreciate all of the love and everyone here, but if it becomes too heavy for you, if you're feeling physical reactions to what we're talking about, please just take a break from this, because I will too. I already did what I needed to do in my space. I always cleanse my space. I put some incense. Last night was a full moon in Virgo, Google Schmoogle, whatever that means for you. They say full moons are the time to release things. So I want to release any negative energy that might be surrounding the story. Even after last night of watching this on Lifetime, I was like, oh, I told everyone, I said, go in the shower, go cleanse yourself, use water to kind of just cleanse yourself from the energy, because the energy around this documentary is heavy. I don't want to say that it's negative. I want to say that it's heavy, because I don't want to say what she's going through is necessarily negative, because I think something positive can be learned from it, especially for ourselves. But before we even get into the documentary, if you follow me on TikTok, I posted this doctor, Dr. Terry, on TikTok, talked a little bit more about the diagnosis. As you know, when Alex Finney, Wendy's goddaughter and niece, was on The View, she was talking about this documentary and the family being pushed out of being even in contact with Wendy. She revealed that, she had just spoken to Wendy and that Wendy sounded great. But here's the thing. They can't call Wendy. They have not seen Wendy in months. And only time they can speak with Wendy is if Wendy calls them. Wendy, as you know, is under a guardianship, a financial and her well-being and her health guardianship. All right. Literally, The View, after they had Alex on there, they got a message from Wendy's care team confirming that she has been diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia and aphasia. So I wanted, before we get into this documentary, wanted to hear what Dr. Terry on TikTok had to say in regards to Wendy's diagnosis and what this means.
It was hard to hear that Wendy Williams is suffering from frontotemporal dementia, the same kind that Bruce Willis is. She's only 59 years old. She had to stop production of her show 2 years ago because of her early signs of frontotemporal dementia, which was, in this case, aphasia. Now, aphasia is finding the right word, which we all have sometimes difficulty doing, but it can become constant and more difficult, and that is an early sign of a brain problem. Frontotemporal dementia has to do with the frontal part of the brain, this frontal lobe of the brain, which is the filter. That is also, think about someone who has alcohol. The more alcohol you drink, the more you shut down that filter. People who drink a lot of alcohol will say things they would never normally say in public. People with frontotemporal dementia will say things and do things that one would never do in public because that frontal lobe is not developed properly. It's just deteriorating over time from dementia. The reasons people get dementia are complex. We know some of them. We know that she suffered from addictions of cocaine and alcoholism. Both of those are an increased risk of dementia. Other things that can cause an increased risk of dementia include histories of depression, people who have poor diets, age, male sex. Those are other things. And even though there are certain things that we can do to decrease our risk of dementia, for example, a Mediterranean-style diet decreases your risk of dementia by those who adhere to it by as much as 53%. That's not zero. Still means people can still get it. It just means that we can reduce your risk of getting it. And we are going to hear more and more about dementia as time goes on. Now, some people will say it's all the statins being out there. Statins do not increase your risk of dementia. They actually decrease your risk of dementia. And specifically, they will decrease something called vascular dementia, which is what my mother suffered from. My mother, like Wendy Williams, had a fierce brain. And it is so hard seeing someone with that brilliant brain, that great intelligence, slowly lose it. Just for a few things, they estimate that she has about 12 to 13 years left of life, because that's what happens with that type of dementia. Vascular dementia, like my mother had, was about a 5-year course. Alzheimer's about a 12 to 14-year-old course. Why? What happens to the brain? The brain deteriorates so much that it actually loses its ability to do the executive functions involved in breathing, involved in heart rate, involved in all those things your body needs. And that's what ultimately people die from when they have dementia. So, horrible disease. We have 6.5 million people now who are suffering from it. It's going to only continue unless we have medical breakthroughs. But what you can do to help decrease your risk of this, can't decrease it to zero again, Fruits, vegetables, Mediterranean style diet, exercise, talking, social communications. Keep your brain active by learning new things and doing all that. That's the best you can do. And as soon as we have a medical breakthrough, I promise I will be on here immediately touting it. Until then, do the things that you can do. Eat well, live well, enjoy the life, use your brain. Thanks. If you like this, like, follow, share.
Be sure to follow Dr. Terry Simpson on TikTok. I found that video yesterday and I shared it on my TikTok because I felt like it had so much valid information. But I already told you, for those that are just joining us, we're going to have a little bit of a lot of serious triggering talk, but we're also going to have a little bit of a giggle because I think in honor of Wendy Williams, she would want us to take a serious situation and have a little bit of a giggle. Dr. Terry, what did you mean by male sex? Are you telling me I have a higher risk of dementia if I have... That stood out to me. I need to go talk to Dr. Terry. I'm a little concerned. Everything else I can work on when it comes to, acting the Mediterranean diet, the fruits, the vegetables, really learning something new. I was talking about this on TikTok last night. I said, I love when I travel because, especially a new place, when I went to Japan, I didn't know anything about where everything was or how their metro system worked. So that really activates your brain to kind of step outside of your comfort zone. They also say when your commute home, try and take a different way home. That also helps with the brain. But Dr. Terry, what did you mean by male sex? What does that mean? I'm going to have to send him a DM because I just need him to clarify what he meant by that. Because then okay. Oh, if you're male. Oh, damn. Look, damn. So, Ivy said you heard him. I think maybe he just meant if you are of the male sex. Maybe that's what he meant. I'm going to need him to clarify that, though, because, all right. Anyways, look, as I said to you guys before, I'm not an expert. Go follow experts. Shout out to everyone watching on TikTok. We appreciate you guys supporting. All right? Anyways. I say all that to say, I wanted to start this conversation off with that so that we have that information in our bag in regards to it. It's not a, what's the word? It's not a positive outlook for where Wendy Williams will go from here on out. But I think a lot of us, there have been rumors of Wendy having dementia for a couple of years now, even before we heard that she was diagnosed, because apparently she was diagnosed sometime last year. And if you watch the documentary, part 1 of the Lifetime Where is Wendy Williams documentary, then you saw clear signs. And look, we're not experts in dementia, but if you know anything about dementia, you could see it. You could see it. And I'm not going to fault her team right now. We will throughout the documentary. Just give me a moment. Because we have to remember, there are still a lot of people that will associate some of what she was doing and behaving without knowing that she has dementia. Oh, it's the alcohol, or it's just how she is, or she's being a diva. I can see them. I'm trying to give them grace. Not necessarily, understanding that this is dementia. I think us watching it back, we're like, her being the way that she's acting, it seems like clear dementia. Dementia can eventually become violent. Saying all that, so let's start at the top of this documentary. We're not going to go through every single nitty-gritty part of the documentary, even though I took a lot of notes this morning. I watched it again. So at the top of the documentary, Wendy comes and she's in her apartment. She sits down and she talks about not missing the daytime talk show. And then we get this little moment of, Wendy just naturally funny. She's like, now I can show my breath, and she's like, you want to see him? And she's like ready to pull him down. I'm like, oh my God, are they going to pull it? She does that. And then she asked Will, because she's like, I'm going to do a podcast. And I told you, if you've been following my coverage of Wendy and this podcast, I said, whoever is handling this podcast, Will, I don't know if obviously it's Will, clearly doesn't know what a podcast is. Doesn't know how podcasts work. Doesn't understand the business of podcasts from the promo. I already told her, I was like, what are you doing? She could start a podcast yesterday if she really wanted to start one. In this documentary, Will is like, well, we're waiting for the right deal. I mean, say what you want about Sean Zanotti, the publicist, we will. But she's like, maybe we should create a sizzle reel. And he's like, I don't want to create a sizzle reel if it might, stop a deal from happening. You, of all people, know that at this point, Wendy is not considered viable with all the rumors that were going on at the time about her health and her drinking and abuse. No one wanted to touch her. She was just, at the time, kicked off of her show because she wasn't showing up. So you trying to get a podcast deal and you're not willing to show she's still viable says a lot to me. Or says that you have no idea. Wendy says to him, will people be able to see me in a podcast? He's like, yeah. No, she said, will I be able to see the people? Of course, people, you can, we do visual versions of our podcast, so you're able to see me when I do a podcast. But she says, will I be able to see the people? And he's like, yeah. Sir. The live. Yes, you could do a live podcast, show like we've done recently, live podcast shows. But in all honesty, most of the time with a podcast, you're not seeing anything or anyone. Yes, they could see you because you'll do a video version of it, but she can't see the people. So either he doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's just saying things to say things. Okay. I say all that to say. So at the top of this, they talk about that. Wendy gets emotional saying that she loves Will. And I had an aha moment last night watching this documentary because Will Selby seems to be the only person that Wendy's able to trust in this moment. But if you've been following Wendy's career, if you know a thing or two about Wendy's career, Kevin Hunter Sr., Kelvin, a.k.a. for those that don't realize his real name is Kelvin, her ex-husband, came in at a time when she wanted protection. She always wanted to be married. She wanted to have a family. That's really the most important thing to her. All right? So I had an aha watching how Will worked with Wendy and how she trusted him and how he seemed to be the only one to be able to calm her down. I think in her mind, she looked to Will as Kevin. I don't know if in her mind she thought that was Kevin, her ex-husband, or just he represented that for her, and that's why she trusted him only. Like, she didn't trust anyone else. She didn't trust anyone else in that situation. All right? And again, is she trusting the wrong person? Is she trusting the wrong person? Well, we're going to unpack that. But I literally had an aha by the end of this documentary, and I said to me, oh, so she probably, in her mind, Will Selby has the same energy as Kevin Hunter Sr., her ex-husband. Maybe. Wendy does talk about her sister Wanda. We didn't see Wanda in part 1 of this documentary, but we will see her in part 2 of the documentary. And she talks about her relationship with drinking. She says she loves drinking. She doesn't see anything wrong with her drinking. But she says Wanda doesn't like the fact that she drinks. She doesn't like the fact that she drinks. So this is part of the reason why her family has sort of been alienated, at least originally, before the recent guardianship and things like that. All right? So she says, she loves drinking. And then they start talking about her going to a wellness center. And she's just like, I don't want to talk anymore about this wellness center. Apparently, Will had sent her there. Okay. So along with that, for those that are just joining us, we're talking about the Where is Wendy Williams documentary. We still don't know where Wendy Williams is. We've heard in the middle of the filming of this documentary, she ends up going to this wellness center, and that's where the documentary ends. All right? And again, I remind you, the family, Wendy's family, has they have no idea where she is. They can't call her themselves. Alex says that she'll call a facility and they'll be like, no one's here by that name. So I think they know where this facility is, but they can't get in contact with her because Wendy is under a guardianship, both financial and in regards to her health. They have no control over any of those decisions. So I'm assuming that when we found out about her diagnosis is when the family found out about her diagnosis. Or they knew about her diagnosis and the release of that information was out of their control. All right. So here's the like key moments that we get with Wendy. Wendy meets with this trainer. Sidebar, that trainer was fine. He was fine. Come on. Can we have a little bit of a giggle today, please? We need to lighten the mood. He was fine. But then we have this moment with Wendy, she's trying to get her like the feeling back in her legs, because she has the lymphedema, lymphedema in her feet. So she doesn't have any feeling. She has like 2%, she says, at this point. 2% in her feeling. 2% in her feet of feeling. So she meets with this trainer and she's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But he's saying that he needs to work with her maybe 4 to 5 times a week in order to see improvement in regards to her body. So he starts moving things. He's like, oh yeah, push a little harder, push a little harder. Wendy Williams is still in there. Wendy Williams is still in there and still just unintentionally funny. But we get DJ Boof. So there was a big, all kinds of rumors about DJ Boof and why he stopped working with Wendy. He had been working with Wendy on The Wendy Show for a very, very long time. And then during the pandemic, he ended up working, like he did everything for Wendy because Wendy didn't want anyone in her home. So he was there doing everything when she was filming from her home. And as you know, if you watched her during this time, during the pandemic, when she was filming from home, she didn't seem in the best. And look, if you remember the pandemic, a lot of you that went through the pandemic, a lot of people had struggles with addiction. A lot of people had struggles with their mental health, a lot of things. All right. So, of course, Wendy is like all of us. Wendy's like all of us, but it's a little bit different. She's working. She doesn't have her son. She doesn't have her ex-husband anymore. So she lived a very lonely life, but she still had to work. She still had to show up. But now she's in the house. She's in the house, meaning access to the alcohol and things like that. So who knows what was going on at the time? All right. I've heard things. I've heard from sources that actually, came through. So it wasn't the best environment for her. She probably did a lot better working from the studio. A lot of you said, I can't wait to get back to the office. All right. So DJ Boof talks about that time, and he talks about how she didn't seem all there. He would randomly go there and check up on her. He really became her new Kevin Hunter Sr. He became her new ex-husband, really sort of like her protector. Here's the thing, and I hear Travis Finney, Alex's brother, Wendy's nephew, and I've heard a few people say this about Kevin Hunter, her ex-husband. A lot of people say that he was her protector. Half the battle was her actually getting to the studio. No, Kevin didn't help. Yes, he helped keep the brand going, but he did not help the situation at all. Because what she needed was rehab. What she needed was to deal with the alcohol. And what she didn't need was a husband that was cheating on her for 15 years. All right? For those that don't even realize this, Kevin, what happened to all the money? Because remember, Kevin was not just an executive producer of the Wendy Williams show. He was also her manager. So he got 20% of everything and probably more. He probably got more than that because he was probably paying himself. So in some way, I don't want to give Kevin more credit than he deserves. Because he propped her up to get her to entertain millions of people, for me, is not something that we should, praise him for, to be honest with you. Because what she needed was a focus on her mental health, a focus on her physical health. That's what's needed, not to be propped up, to be pushed out to entertain the masses. And look, at this point, Wendy needs to focus on that. And I know in her head, because that's all she had at the end, was her daytime talk show, was her work. She didn't have her husband. Her son wasn't really around because she was pushing him away. And I think if she had focused on that, we'd probably be talking about something very different. So as I mentioned as Dr. Terry mentioned in his video at the top of this live recap of the Where is Wendy Williams documentary, originally I was like, well, how excessive was the drinking? But we also have to remember Wendy had years of drug abuse that she opened up about. And in the documentary, they replay where she says, I was doing, the sugar booger, thing for 5 days a week. And the only time that she stopped was like a year before she decided to start having children. All right. So we have to keep in mind that years of abuse probably did not help with what she's dealing with now. And it sounds like the drinking, according to Kevin Jr., he says that she would spoil him and give him everything that he would want in order to kind of make up for the alcoholism. So it sounds to me like she had been drinking and it became unmanageable recently, but she may have been drinking for years before this. But at the time, it was manageable. So the combination of years of drug abuse, the combination with the alcoholism in recent years did not help. Did not help with this recent diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia and aphasia. All right. So DJ Boof talks about working with Wendy and being in the home and then her fainting on air. Sidebar, who do we have to talk to so they can take that GIF down of her fainting on air? That's not funny. Every time I see that GIF, when I look up for Wendy Williams GIFs, that one comes up. Twitter, who do we have to talk to have that removed? That wasn't funny at all. That was literally someone in the throes of addiction, in the throes of a physical incident, fainting on air. Every time I see it, I'm just so disturbed by it. We don't know exactly what happened in that moment, dehydration, who knows? But it seems as if that's when she started talking more about her health issues, but we still didn't know. There were a lot of speculation. But she talked about her Graves' disease. She talked about the lymphedema in her feet, all right? And as you can see in the documentary, Wendy's getting ready to go out, and she gets really upset with one part of her management team, the woman in her management team, and she says, "I don't care for her," because she's trying to get dressed and she doesn't like what she's suggesting. Then the nail tech comes in to do her nails, and Wendy really is in Wendy mode, and she's like, "Oh, do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids?" And then she flips, and then she's just like, "Oh, the nail tech is stupid." And look, I know some people are like, "Oh my God, Wendy's mean." We have to remember, with this diagnosis of dementia, this is not surprising. This is not surprising. People with dementia can not only go from saying and being mean, they can also get physically violent. All right? So we have that moment. Will Selby says that he isn't concerned necessarily about her mental health. He says, "I'm not going to say I'm concerned like I'm worried about her." He says that he doesn't know if there's something special in her water, alluding, because he's thinking maybe it has more to do. I'm giving him grace. I think, because again, no one's experts unless you've been or done the work in regards to dementia or things like that. Maybe he's not realizing that this is what's happening. Okay? He's thinking that, oh, she's being this way because she's drinking. All right? So he mentions that Wendy talks about, after being prompted by Will, about her drug use, and that's where we found out she had been using drugs for like 5 days a week. So he asked about that, Will, and I noticed something that she says in this, that she wanted to retire by the time she was in her 50s. Technically, she really did. Be mindful of the things you say in life. Be very specific about what you want, all right, and how you want it. Because she talks about how she wants to be retired in her 50s. She ended the Wendy Williams show in her 50s. She has not worked really since, despite them trying to make her work in this documentary. And in this conversation about her past drug use, she also talks about how the reason why she stopped. She kind of stopped when she started dating Kevin, but then she really stopped when she decided that she wanted to have a family and have a baby. And she says she stopped like a year before. And anytime they bring up her son, Kevin, she gets really emotional. So they start talking about her son and her relationship with her son. Then we are introduced to her nephew, and he talks about his relationship with Wendy and how they related, because they sort of like the black sheeps of their family. All right, because we don't really know too much about Travis, but Travis speaks a lot in part 1 of the Where is Wendy Williams documentary. Okay. So we also get, and again, if you're a Wendy-nista, you know all the characters that are in this documentary. Reg, Regina, her longtime friend, she's talked about her on the daytime talk show, but she always used to talk about her on her radio days. So Regina talks about Wendy in this documentary, and she talks about Wendy finding out about Kevin's affair. And when she went into the sober house, and remember, she went on the Wendy Williams show and admitted that she was living in a sober house. When she was in the sober house, and in the original documentary she did with Lifetime a couple of years ago, she found out that his side piece, she knew about the side piece. She had known about the side piece for a very long time, but the minute he had a baby with the side piece, she said she was done. And she told him that she was done because he had called her to tell her that the side piece, Sharina Hudson, had the baby. All right? So they show Regina a clip from the Wendy Williams show, and Wendy talks about, and I completely forgot about this clip. I'm glad they played it, where she talked about her struggles with alcoholism. And Regina says, that's interesting because anytime they had conversations about it, Wendy didn't own up to being an alcoholic, which is in line with someone that's in the throes of alcoholism. All right. So again, this was a moment where the nephew, Travis Finney, talks about how, half the battle of Wendy doing the talk show was getting there. And that he said he's had his struggles with Kevin Sr., but he would get her to the studio instead of getting her the help that she needed. And I'm not saying that Kevin Hunter Sr. didn't try to get her help. Again, the intention behind that, the motivation behind that, again, people are being paid. This is why sometimes it's not good. Sometimes, more times than not, 9 times out of 10, it's not good to have your husband manage your affairs, because then it becomes such a blurry line. A blurry line at home talking about business, a blurry line when it comes to your finances, a blurry line when it comes to people's intentions. Blurry lines. So if you ever see me say my husband's my manager, say, Kempire, we warned you. No, I think those things need to be separate. So for those of you who, if you came to the Kempire After Dark show and I says, I don't want to date someone that watches me. I don't need to date a fan. I'm just saying, no. Thank God majority of you are women.
How you doing?
But then, look, we have a mixed crowd. But look, I like to keep that separate. I don't want to talk about hot topics or Real Housewives in my personal life. I don't mind it here and there, but not every single day. Like, oh, what do you think about this hot? Boy, if you don't leave me alone, I don't want to talk about no damn hot topics. I want to talk about the traders. No. I want to talk about, the next place that we're going to travel to. I want to talk about tech. Just saying. So there's a thin line, and I can see how originally why Wendy thought this would be great to have her husband manage her. I can get that. I get that. Why she would want that. Because on some level, you're like no one's going to look out for you better than the person that you think loves you. But the minute you found out that he was cheating on you, living with a whole woman down the street in a whole other house, I would have got rid of him. But I still find it really interesting that Kelvin Hunter has no money left. Years of managing Wendy's career. You know how much money you can make in daytime talk? You know how much money you can make? So you tricked out all that money, Kelvin? You tricked out all that money? Kel says, get you a nice banker. I'm up. Look. Yes, get me a nice banker. Or someone with a trust fund. Yes, someone with a trust fund. I'm okay with either one. No, I like someone that works hard. I work hard. I can't be with someone that's lazy. You know what I mean? How did this become about me? It must be my Leo moon. Hey, Leos. Anyways, let me say thank you. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. Guys, don't forget, you can also support the channel by just liking the video, by sharing the video, by subscribing, checking out some of the other content. Here on the channel, we don't just talk about reality TV. We talk about everything in pop culture, like Wendy Williams. We covered Wendy quite a bit in the last few years, so be sure to check out some of the stories so you can get a full update, because we can't cover every single thing that we've talked about. Right now, we're talking about the Wendy Williams documentary that aired last night. Part 1 aired. Where is Wendy Williams on Lifetime? Thank you, Yakini, for the super chat. Yakini says, when my grandmother's dementia advanced, she used to say some spicy things and read her loved ones to filth, too. We learned to love that new version of her. Oh, that's deep, Yakini. Thank you so much for sharing that. A lot of people, well, last night when we were watching this together on TikTok, were talking about their own family members that have been diagnosed with dementia. Sylvia, thank you so much for the super chat. Sylvia says, praying for Wendy. Most definitely. Most definitely, we all should pray for Wendy and not expect Wendy to return to what we are used to. We had many, many years of radio and television with Wendy. Based off this diagnosis, I just don't see Wendy returning in that capacity, and that's fine. That's fine. Joe, thank you so much for the super chat. Joe says, male sex, you can withhold that in perpetuity to decrease the risk. We believe in you. If you don't know Joe, y'all, he makes jokes. He meant of male sex, since sex can be a vigorous exercise. Okay. I might just have to deal with it. Okay, I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna live my life. Mama Allie, thank you so much. Shout out to our King's Guards that are holding us down in the chat. They're always here, and whenever I decide to go live, we don't normally necessarily go live, especially to cover a documentary. But when it's Wendy Williams, the queen of pop culture, then we have to, right? Mama Allie, thank you for the super chat. She says, good job and keep up the great work for all who are sober. Yes, no matter where you are in your journey, you're doing a great job. We're proud of you. I love this. Thank you, Mama Allie, for sharing. Yes, we are. Because, everyone has different vices and different addictions and things like that. And it's an everyday struggle. It's an everyday process. It's an everyday battle. All right. All right. Moving on, for those that are just joining us, we're talking about the Wendy Williams documentary. But I did want to let you guys know, if you are in the Philly area, I will be there for the Kempire After Dark live show, March 7th. Tickets are now on sale. More information is available in the description. So if you enjoy live shows like this, of course, I'm going to be in Philly, so we're going to have to talk about Wendy. We're going to have to talk about what's going on reality television. We're going to have to talk about whatever the latest hot topics. Every single show is so different. The New York show versus the DC show was so different. Philly, I have an idea what I want to talk about, but you just never know. A lot can happen in the next week. So stay tuned. If you live in the Philly, South Jersey area, or will be in Philly on March 7th, come see the Kempire After Dark live show then. All right, go get your tickets today if you haven't already. All right, see you guys very soon. We will be coming to Boston, Nashville, and Atlanta. Those dates have been announced. More information is available in the description. And again, if you want to take us on the go, you will be able to take this live recap of the Where is Wendy Williams documentary on our podcast, Kempire, on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. While you're there, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Become a subscriber of the channel, because we cover a lot. We do a lot. All right? All right. Moving on. All right. So The documentary continues. Wendy gets emotional, as I said before, talking about her son. We have her nephew talking about it. Regina, her best friend, is talking about Wendy and the situation when she went to the sober house. She found out about Sharina Hudson and this baby. She says that Regina says that it was shocking that Wendy admitted to alcoholism in that clip. All right. Boof then talks about Wendy's lowest point. He talks about filming in the apartment with her. And he said that, according to reports, he doesn't get into the details. For some reason, he doesn't want to talk about her lowest point. But according to reports, this is when he went to the apartment and found Wendy unconscious, and she had to go to the hospital. Apparently, he called Kevin, her son, in order to get her to the hospital. Apparently, she had 3 blood transfusions. They said she almost died. All right. So Alex, her daughter, I always say her daughter, her goddaughter, her niece. However, she always looked at her as a daughter before she even had Kevin Jr. She always looked at as her daughter as a daughter. So I've slipped up a couple times in covering the story, referring to her as a daughter. I'm just gonna say the daughter, because that really is like her daughter. All right, and you're going to see more of her in part 2 of the documentary, and she's been on the promo trail promoting this documentary. As you also know, the legal guardian for Wendy she sued A&E Networks, the parent company of Lifetime, to stop this documentary. As you can see, that did not stop this documentary from happening. All right. So Alex talks about Wendy's mother, Shirley. As you remember, Wendy talked about Shirley all the time, and Alex gives us a better idea of how close she was with her mom. Apparently, she talked to her mom all the time, and Alex was watching Wendy on television, and she says that, before her grandmother died, she told her to always protect your mother. I mean, keep referring to her as a mother. I'm sure, Alex, if you see this, I'm sure Wendy was your mom in another life. Because I keep slipping saying that. I'm sure that, I believe in stuff like that. That was your mom in another life, Wendy Williams. But Wendy's mom told Alex that you need to protect your aunt. Because they were watching her, and she's like, I can tell in her eyes. She felt like there was a dimming in her eyes. But she told her to always protect her aunt and always have her back. And that was like the last conversation that Alex had with her mom, Shirley. I don't know if you guys remember this. The day before Wendy's birthday was the last time that we saw her on television, July 16th, 2021. And that's when all the different reports of the Debmar Mercury weren't able to get in contact with her. All right. Kevin and Alex apparently had brought her down to Florida because she wasn't doing well here in New York. That's when we got that video footage where they were on the beach, both Kevin and Wendy. Apparently she was eating vegan. She wasn't drinking. She was doing better. She sounded really coherent. And this is what they've alleged. Yesterday, I saw our friends over at the Neighborhood Talk posted that Wendy's former attorney, before the legal guardianship, posted video footage that she had taken on of Wendy when she was in Florida. All right. And I posted in the comment section, I get it. You want to prove a point that Wendy was better with the family. But at the same time, I would much rather her son release that video footage than someone that worked with Wendy. I get what they're trying to do in the narrative they're trying to paint. I get it. But at the same time, I'm like, you worked for Wendy. You were an attorney. What happened to client privilege? And, for me, maybe because I used to work for a law firm for a very long time, I'm just sort of like, I cringe at it. I'm like, I'm uncomfortable with someone that was employed releasing this information. Maybe she got permission from Kevin. But again, I would much rather you release this. Kevin released this, Kevin Jr., or the family released this, than you, as someone that was my attorney. Just saying. I say all that to say. The Wendy Williams show was canceled, and Alex says that she had to break this information to Wendy, and it took weeks, months, for Wendy to really understand that the Wendy Williams show had been canceled. All right. Wendy also opens up about, because there were rumors, they're confirming a lot of the rumors that were out there, that there was some sort of distance between Kevin Jr. and Wendy, and that she wasn't talking to him, and it was basically over her drinking. He doesn't like the fact that she drinks. He said it in that Sun interview that she can't drink. When she drinks, it affects her very differently than anyone else. So he doesn't like it when she's drinking. He's like zero tolerance. She doesn't like that. Part of the reason why she pushed him away. So we get this scene where Will Selby and their team take Wendy back to Asbury Park, where she grew up. Then they take her back to Wendy Williams Way, where they named the street after her. Sidebar: why did that neighbor say, "Oh, since you're hanging on my pole, madam, that pole on the street does not belong to you"? Anyone notice that? I noticed the weirdest things. I was like, your pole, that pole is street property. That pole, you do not own that. You do not own that, okay? But anyways, and then also you want to take a picture, but you never really watched Wendy. I always find that interesting. If you're not a fan, why you want to take a picture? Look, if you're not a fan and you never really watch what I do, why you want to take a picture? Oh, just because of someone you know is famous? Okay. I'm not dogging out that person, but okay. Okay. Just saying, just random thoughts. That's what I'm here for. This is what the recap is, about my random thoughts. So they end up going, because Wendy is asked, oh, I used to live over here. And they're like, no, I think you live down there. So Wendy clearly doesn't remember where she lives. Teresa says Karens are everywhere. You're right. You're right. I just random. I was like, what? What do you mean your pole? My goodness. I'm going to do that in my neighborhood. Get off my pole that's outside. Anyways, I say all that to say, so they end up going to her old childhood home. Look, here's the thing. I had two feelings about the team taking her, filming this moment. I think they wanted to have a scene. They wanted to go back to the neighborhood. But in the same breath, I'm like, is this helping her by going back to the neighborhood? Is she feeling good about going to her neighborhood and feeling important? And she likes being famous. Okay. But at the same time, I felt it was exploitive. We have to film a scene. Let's push her out there. And that's always been my critique of the people that were around her. They just kept propping her up, pushing her out there to work when she didn't need to work. They needed her to work because they didn't have access to her money because the financial guardian wasn't going to pay them. All right? So she gets emotional sitting on the steps of where she grew up with Will. Weird. All right? So Will, we have another scene where Will goes and apparently he had pulled out cash. He opened up a separate account for her because they don't have access to the Wells Fargo account. And I told you guys on TikTok last night, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You should have more than one account. You should always have more than one account. Do I think Wells Fargo was wrong for freezing her accounts? I'm not going to say that they were wrong. I know originally when we reported on it, it felt suspicious because Wells Fargo, you don't have the best history. Okay? You do not have the best history, Wells Fargo. I say all that to say, though, I think suspicious activity was happening. But it's also a reminder, you should have more than one account. You should have more than one account. You should diversify your account. I believe your bank only covers you up to what, $250,000, right? Something like that, $250,000 per bank. But if you have millions of dollars, of course, you're not going to have, that many. But I'm surprised that she only had the Wells Fargo account. So Will comes in and he's like, "Why you have this cash here?" Like it felt performative. Him coming in there, pulling out the cash, and then she takes the cash and she puts it in her robe. She's like, "Oh, I love this money." He's like, "Why haven't you put it in the bank?" And this is when we found out that he opened up a separate bank account for her. And this is where we learn about the financial guardianship a little bit more in the Where is Wendy Williams documentary for those that are just joining us. Guys, if you haven't already, we have, how many people? We got almost 3,000 of you here for our Wendy Williams recap. We appreciate it. Well, don't forget to like the video. It's an easy and free way of supporting the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps support us as well because we don't just talk about Wendy Williams here. We talk about everything in pop culture. We will be live tomorrow to recap Real Housewives of Potomac and Married to Medicine. And I will be doing another recap of part 2 of the Where is Wendy Williams documentary. A busy day tomorrow. And we will be live tonight, hopefully, on TikTok to watch part 2. So if you don't follow me on TikTok, be sure to follow me there. Shout out to everyone watching on TikTok as well. All right. Honeybee on TikTok says, "Wells Fargo is giving me a hard time regarding my dad's IRA, and I'm a beneficiary and executor." That's why I say I'm conflicted with the Wells Fargo of it all, because in one sense, I do feel like something may have tripped off the Wells Fargo freezing of the asset situation. But at the same time, were they overarching in regards to this? Who's benefiting from this? Who has access to this? I saw Sunny Hostin on The View says that, there is no incentive for the guardian to give this power away to the family. There's no incentive. They're getting paid. They're getting paid to keep her under this guardianship. They did have an attorney speak in this documentary saying that usually they always lean towards giving access of the, guardianship to the family. Like the family is the primary source, unless something is happening that makes it a little suspicious or not the right decision. But I still don't understand. I can understand them not giving the guardianship to Kevin Hunter Jr. We have to remember, I need us to give Kevin Hunter Jr. grace. Kevin is 21 at the time of all this happening. 21. He also had been spoiled by not spoiled. I don't want to say spoiled. His mother gave him, he grew up a rich kid. He didn't grow up like some of us. Look. Yeah, he grew up with money. He grew up with money. So I'm not going to say that he needs to change his lifestyle to live like a pauper. Okay? I'm not going to say that. But Kevin, $120,000 party, but he says that his mother approved all these things. And also what he was spending was because his mother lives a certain way. She has a certain diet. She likes to do certain things. Okay? She even says it in the documentary. Wendy even says it in the documentary. Apparently $80K for his apartment. But this is where it got me, Kevin. Kevin, $100,000 for Uber Eats? $100,000 for Uber Eats? I know those Uber Eats charges are up there, but $100,000? But what was he feeding? Not just himself, but also Wendy when she was down there with him? Possible. She's probably asking for caviar. Well, no, technically, if she was eating vegan, you can't eat caviar. But you know what I'm saying, okay? So, again, we have to keep in mind this whole guardianship situation is under seal. We have no idea what Wells Fargo or what the court knows. It's important to note that. But here's the thing. I understand maybe Kevin Hunter Jr. not being the guardian, even though he was the power of attorney before this situation happened. He's young. But there's Wanda, who's an attorney, who older than Wendy. I could see Wanda. We don't know Wanda from a can of paint, but based on what we've seen of Wanda, how she raised Alex, who we see in the documentary, I don't see why Wanda couldn't do it. I understand why Tommy Jr. No. We get to see little Tommy in this. I can understand maybe not Tommy. I can understand. But even if it was Tommy, I don't think that he would necessarily abuse the situation. But still, we have Wanda. We don't need Tommy when we have Wanda. I just don't understand why the family has been pushed out of this situation completely. And they've said they don't even care about the money part. It's her health and well-being. They have no jurisdiction over that either now. All right? All right. I say all that to say, all right. Again, the attorney speaks out in regards to usually the preference goes to the family. Kevin believes that his mom has pushed him away because he doesn't want his mom drinking. But I don't understand why a court would hold that against Kevin. Clearly, she has a problem with addiction. All right? So Will has this scene and he's calling out Wendy's drinking. He pulls out a bottle. It feels very performative, some of these scenes with Will. It's like he's just doing things for a moment, trying to create content for, at the time, it wasn't a documentary about guardianship. It wasn't a documentary. It was supposed to be her climb to be coming back to a podcast. All right? But he's calling out the drinking. He's pointing it out. Wendy says she doesn't want to stop drinking. She says, everyone drinks. Why do I need to stop? All right? Kevin believes that his mom was always very generous with him because of her drinking. So that, for me, when he mentions that, made me go, oh, so she's been drinking for a long time. And I think it's just starting to show, and we don't know how excessive she's been drinking. So apparently it's been a problem. God only knows for how long. All right. So they have a conversation. So Wendy and Will meet with Sean Zanotti, the publicist. For those that are just joining us, we're talking about the Wendy Williams documentary, Where is Wendy Williams? We get this scene with Sean Zanotti. All right, Sean Zanotti, you may have seen, we reported on statements that she's released. She's a part of the team. She's Wendy Williams' publicist. Sean, this does not help. This does not make you look good at all, girl. And you are a publicist. All right, you are a publicist. This does not make you look good at all. So they have a meeting to talk about a podcast. We told you, ain't no podcast happening. Will, you don't know what you're doing when it comes to a podcast. He's telling Sean, oh, I don't want to do it as a sizzle reel. I don't want to ruin any possibility of her getting an exclusive deal. At this point, if Will doesn't know, we are on the outside of the situation. You see everything because you're there with her. You still think that she can get a podcast? We knew very little on the outside. You think that she's going to get a special deal to get a podcast when her show has been canceled because allegedly she wasn't viable to show up to do the daily daytime talk show. You think someone's going to invest money and someone they right now, word on the street, she's not viable, you are delusional. You're Delulu. But Sean was like, well, maybe we should do a sizzle reel and things like that. All right. Is she ready to do a podcast? So Will says, because the production asked him, do you think she's ready to do a podcast? So he turns it on production. He's like, do you think she's ready to do a podcast? There's silence. Apparently, they're nodding their head. We don't know if they're nodding their head like up and down or side to side. Apparently, they were like, oh, well, maybe. He said he doesn't understand the doubt in Wendy doing a podcast. How could she not be ready, Will Selby says. Is he watching the same thing that we're watching? Then they end up going out to dinner. You remember seeing those. That's when we found out. Okay, that she was filming something, or maybe a reality show. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know what it was she was filming. So she goes to Scotto's, okay, to have dinner, and this is where she gets emotional, talking to Will, saying that I don't have anyone. No one wants to be no one wants to be my friend. Sean is there as well. Sean's Zanatti, the publicist. All right. We then have this scene with Sean and Wendy. All right. And she says to Sean, and again, I'm giving Wendy grace because it's very clear what we're seeing here. It is a woman that is struggling with mental health and dementia. Because she says to Sean, she says, you need liposuction. She's like, I like the hair and everything, but you need liposuction. Again, Dr. Terry at the top of this show, Dr. Terry Simpson, explains to you what is happening with someone with frontotemporal dementia. The front part of your brain that is your filter is now being unfiltered. And we already know Wendy was already unfiltered. So can you imagine? Production asked Sean, how are you feeling after, Wendy and what she was saying to you? She's like, oh, I have thick skin. Okay. All right. Wendy then goes off on Will and says that he's preventing her from drinking. So, Sean, this is where you lose all of us. I'm going to speak for the rest of us. Sean says, in regards to Wendy's drinking, she knows her limits. Sean, more than even Will Selby, felt more sus and as an enabler than anyone else in this documentary. And she's the publicist. I don't know if she even does she represent other people? I haven't even Googled schmoogled. Do we know who else Sean represents, or did she just claim to be a publicist? Because I know a couple people just claim to be publicists and don't have clients, and they're not actually publicists. Just saying. She says Wendy knows her limits. She lost me there because it only gets worse. So Wendy in this scene says, I want to sell some stuff. So her and Sean go into the closet to pull out stuff. Again, when they go into the closet, you're seeing Wendy she's having an episode. You can tell that Wendy is having some sort of episode. She's very angry. She's very, very, very angry. Sorry, y'all. I didn't mean to pull that. I'm trying to find my photos here. Hold on, y'all. There we go. She's clearly very, very, very angry in these moments during the the scene with Sean. She's telling Sean to fix what she did. So clearly, when they end up leaving the house to go out to find this the vape thing stuff. So she wants to go get that, but then she also wants to drive by the Wendy Williams show. But she also says, the Sherry Shepherd show. So there's still some clarity, understanding that that's no longer her show. Because she does mention the Sherry Shepherd show. She wants to drive past there. But then she sends Sean into this place to go get her vape pen. And she's clearly having an episode that day. You see earlier in the day, she's not in the best space. She's clearly not in the best space in regards to this. All right? You can clearly see that she's having some sort of episode. She's very agitated. So when they go out, they speak to the driver, and the driver says he's noticed that she's losing memories. He says that she's not as nice as she used to be, when he first started working with her. Again, we have to keep in mind that a lot of these folks may not even know what dementia looks like and why she might be like this. They might be excusing the fact that maybe she's drinking and that's why she's being so mean. All right? And it could be a combination of both. So she's sending Sean back in, and she's being very angry with Sean. And then at one point, at the end of this scene, she apologizes to Sean. All right. Here's the thing, though. She keeps saying that she wants to go past the Wendy Williams show, even though they went past it. So the driver says that he feels like she's losing memories. Sean says she doesn't think anything's going on with Wendy's health. Sean Zanotti, the publicist, she doesn't think anything's going on with Wendy's health. She says she isn't worried about Wendy's drinking. Although Will Selby, the manager, says that he is concerned a little bit about the drinking. He's trying to prevent her from drinking. He's throwing out drinks. All right. When they went out to eat at Scotto's, he's telling the waiter, don't bring her anything to drink. Bring her a mocktail. So on some level, Will Selby thinks that there's a problem. But Sean, the publicist, doesn't think anything's going on with Wendy's health. She isn't worried about Wendy's drinking. She knows how to control herself. These are Sean Zanotti's words. She knows how to control herself. Girl. For me, she was like the worst part of the documentary. I was like, this is what Alex was talking about. You may have seen a preview of part 2 of this documentary, Where is Wendy Williams, where Alex, her niece, is like, who are these enablers that are around her? And she gets an attitude with Sean when she meets Sean at the apartment. She's like, there's everyone around, yes people. Right? So towards the end of this first part of the documentary, production finds that Wendy's health is worsening. We have the scene of Will going to Wendy's room, trying to wake her up. He's like, get up. He's speaking very harshly with her. All right? He's like, get up. To get up to do what, Will? Why are we pushing her out there? And I know he probably would be like, well, she likes being busy. This will help her. It's not helping her. She didn't want to get out of bed. Half of his management team went there, found the place was in disarray. She was supposed to meet with the people to sell her clothes. The cat's food was everywhere. The cats were throwing up everywhere. The Crooks Nook, thank you so much for the super chat. They said, I was in two minds about this documentary. Now seeing it, I'm hoping it will make a case for Wendy's family to gain guardianship. And I think that's part of the reason why, very good comment. Thank you so much for the super chat. I think that's part of the reason why the current Guardian was trying to have this documentary stopped from being shared. I still do not understand. I can understand Kevin Jr. not right now because he's young. He's young. Maybe he's not in the right space right now to handle it. But his aunt Wanda can. Even Alex. Alex is grown. Alex is 30-something years old. I think she could also be able to handle it. There are people within this family, of Wendy Williams' family, that could clearly be the guardian of her health and her finances. I don't know what is in these sealed documents. I think it's very convenient that these documents are sealed, but hashtag free Wendy Williams, hashtag free Wendy. We know the guardianship and conservatorship, for those that might be confused, every state talks about these things differently. So it's the same thing that it is in California. It's just called something different here in New York. So it is basically a conservatorship that Wendy is under. The difference, Britney Spears was under the conservatorship of her father for many, many years. And he abused that, allegedly. I don't know if I should have to say allegedly at this point. It's been said in court. So I don't understand why someone in Wendy's family couldn't do this. All right? Bruce Willis. So when we first reported on the diagnosis that Wendy Williams had been diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia and aphasia, it was the same diagnosis as Bruce Willis. And a lot of people said, so why haven't we seen anything similar to Bruce Willis? Here's the difference. Bruce Willis has an extended family. Even his ex-wife, Demi Moore, is there helping support him through this. So he has proper people in place. He has a proper team in place. And that's why. So there are a variety of reasons. We were talking about this last night on TikTok in regards to what may have triggered this for like Bruce Willis. Or look, there are a variety of things. Alcohol, drugs, but also trauma can trigger dementia of this nature. Again, we're not experts in this, but I'm glad that we are having a conversation about this because I'm sure someone that's watching this and maybe has a family member, or maybe they are the person and didn't realize that this is what they might be experiencing. With the treatments today, you can slow down what's happening, but as Dr. Kerry Simpson said, it eventually will just worsen. But you need the proper care around you. And maybe right now, Wendy is getting the proper care. Maybe she is. But I still feel like the family needs to be involved. There's no reason why the family doesn't know where she is. All right. Critic Chronicle says that when you are famous, there are vultures waiting to take advantage of you. This is why it's important to foster relationships in your life. You can have fame, you can have money, but if you have no one to share that life with, or no one around you that's authentic and truly values you, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And Wendy Williams is a clear example of that. And she reported on people with with this type of stuff around her. Remember when we were talking about the Wendy Williams, with the Whitney Houston reality show being Bobby Brown, or the interview that Wendy did with Whitney at the time? It's very, very, very sad. It's very, very sad. But as always, if you're a member of the channel, I'm going to drop the call-in link so that you guys can call in with quick thoughts on the Wendy Williams documentary. We're not going to be able to get to everyone because we have over 3,200 and something of you watching on YouTube alone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Shout out to everyone watching on Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. We appreciate that. Shout out to all of you watching behind the scenes here on TikTok. Thank you all for being here. All right. The Honorable Court says Bruce Willis also had a very different social presence. Yeah. He was also a movie star. He wasn't commenting on pop culture every single day. He wasn't out in the public every single day. I think there's a combination of reasons why he's been better protected. He has a lot more people behind him. All right. Hey, Rachel. Rachel says, Kempire, the first 2 episodes weighed so heavy on me. It's a heavy conversation. It's a heavy topic. But as I said to you before, I think after watching it, these little light moments with Wendy, because she's just naturally funny, really kind of helped make it a little bit easier to watch. But I'm telling you, watching it for the second time, I was just like, yeah, you tear up a little bit. Because you remember who she once was. And with this diagnosis, you know that that person is never going to be the same. Never going to be the same. But what we can do as a public, #free Wendy Williams, is get the family the access that they need in order to help support and spend these last few, who know how many years. We all, look, at this point in our lives, look, let's be honest, let's have the conversation. Look, after a certain age, you are in the last point of your life. Look, you're in the last point of your life. I think the family should have as much access to her in this point of her life. She needs that support. The love of family, the love of people that truly value you around you can only help her. It's not going to hinder her, especially her son. All right, let me drop the call-in link for our members. I'm dropping the call-in link on the community tab here on YouTube. For those that are listening to this, we're not going to include the callers. Again, if you want to hear the callers, be sure to head on over to our YouTube page, or you can also watch this on Facebook as well, TheKempire and Kempire Daily on Facebook. All right, members, we dropped the call-in link for you guys. I will give members a minute to share their thoughts. For those that are in the live chat, we have 3,000 of you in here. Let's get to 1,200 likes. Liking the video is an easy and free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. Don't forget, guys, if you are new to the channel, we cover every single thing in pop culture, from the hottest topics to reality television. I saw that both Simon Gobadia and Portia Williams have been acting up on social media. Portia, you thought by blocking me, I would never see it. I don't get what they're doing on social media. I don't get the back and forth. It doesn't make sense to me. They're divorcing. Who cares? At this point, I'm waiting for season 16 to see how it all plays out. But knowing Simon Gobadia, he's very messy. So, okay, Simon. Look, okay, Simon. All right. Members, we dropped the call-in link for you. Tonight is part 2. Well, technically episode 3 and 4 of the Where is Wendy Williams documentary. We were just talking a little bit about some of what we discovered in this documentary. If you saw the original documentary that Wendy did with Lifetime, apparently Wendy had a 3-picture deal with Lifetime. I think, yeah, when Alex confirmed this on The View that this completes her partnership with Lifetime in this 3-picture deal. I think a lot of people were uncomfortable with this documentary coming out. She's an executive producer, Wendy Williams. So a lot of people were like, was she in her right mind doing this documentary? Who knows? Who knows? What we do know is that there's a lot that that unfolded in the last year, 2 years while this was being filmed. Okay. All right. Let me switch out this so that we can get to some callers. Okay. Again, guys, don't forget, for those that will be in the Philly area, we will be in Philly. I will see you guys on March 7th. March 7th, we're bringing the Kempire After Dark tour there. That's where we will have conversations very much like the Wendy Williams doc. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about whatever's the latest and hot topics, including Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Real Housewives of Miami, Real Housewives of Potomac, Married to Medicine, and so much more. Be sure to get your tickets for our Philly show. Less than 2 weeks away, y'all. Ticket information is available in the description. And don't forget Boston. We're coming to you on May 30th. We will be in Nashville on July 11th. Then we'll be in Atlanta the next day on July 12th. Tickets are now available there. All right. All right. Anuli says this was so hard to watch. Let me see. All right. Callers. I'm going to bring up some of the callers in a second. Let me just put up my disclaimer. Okay, the callers, again, you agree, no profanity, no derogatory statements. You respect the time so that we can get to everyone. All right. Members of the channel, we have posted the call-in link on the community tab. Live chat, once we get to 1,200 likes, I'll post the call-in link for the general audience to call in. All right. Let's get to some callers. All right. Alex is backstage. Alex, what did you think of this Where is Wendy Williams documentary?
Hi, Kempire. How you doing?
How you doing?
That wasn't meant to be shady. All right. So, well, I mean, maybe a little. You know, this documentary is so sad. This is probably one of the saddest, not saddest movies, but it's a sad documentary. You know, I can see a lot of correlation between her and my grandfather who had Alzheimer's, which is more you know, aggressive than what she has. And it's more memory based, whereas hers is more personality based. But you know, you can kind of see the difference. You know, they become meaner. They lose that filter when they get it, which you can definitely see in her, where she's always had a very low filter. So that filter, it seems, is gone. You know, it's sad because also with her alcoholism, you know, and the trauma that she's been through, it's not hard to believe that she has this now, and that is a direct cause of it. And then also her years of drug use that makes kind of total sense for with the video you showed of the doctor, who explained that, broke that down really well. It's just really sad to see her in this state, and it's also really sad to know that Wendy that we used to see on TV is never going to be back. And you know, the family should definitely have complete access to Wendy. Can I just finish my thought? They should have complete access to Wendy, because from having that experience with someone who has Alzheimer's, the earlier you get to spend that time with them, because the more it gets progressive, the more you lose that person. So right now she still has her personality somewhat the same, but the more and more they lose time with her, the more and more she's going to not be the same person, and they're going to lose her even more. So, you know, thank you for letting me give my opinion. It was such a sad documentary. I can't wait to watch part 2 tomorrow or today.
Tonight. Yep. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you.
Bye. I think that is important. And that for me is critical, is that they do get this time with Wendy, because as Alex said, she will be changing. She will be, you know, not be the same person in the next few years. Let me just say thank you. We got a couple of super chats. Infinitely true. Thank you for the super chat. No one knows the long-term effects of COVID, right? Wendy caught it twice. I feel like COVID may have exacerbated an underlying condition Wendy had. Well, we don't know a lot about COVID either, so who knows? But we also have to keep in mind, when they said that she had COVID, were they saying that to cover up other things? So we're not sure if she really did. So then there's that. Hey V, thank you so much for the super. V says, I'm a big fan of Wendy. She got me through deployments and really tough times. She will always be that girl to me, praying only for the best for her. Thank you, V. We appreciate your support. Yeah, a lot of people. I was just telling on TikTok, I remember when 9/11 happened. I was working a security job. I was in college. I was working security. I was at the time I was interning at the unemployment office when 9/11 happened. We left early because 9/11. But I still had to go to work. I still had to go to work that later that day. And I always had like the radio there while I was working security. And Wendy was working, and she was really like a source of just not thinking about what the hell just happened today in regards to our world. So shout out to Wendy Williams for all the years of entertainment that she's given us. All right. We're going to bring up, again, if you're a member of the channel, we've already posted the call-in link live chat. We're going to drop the call-in link for you guys to share your thoughts. Please be mindful. Be mindful of the language that you use when you call in, and make sure that you respect the timer. Let me just drop the link. Again, guys, liking the video, it's an easy, free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels that talk about similar topics. They'll start to show up on your Explorer page. We've got Janelle backstage. We're going to bring up Janelle next. Janelle, what's going on?
How you doing?
I thought you were going to say something else. Thank God. Okay.
You know what? Because of the nature of the documentary, as much as I believe Bonjour brings sunshine, I feel like it's a more demure topic, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I just have to say, it was sad, honey. It was sad. Wendy got me through unemployment. Like I remember there was one particular summer, I could not get a job for the life of me. I was in my 20s, had no money, and all I could afford was internet. And I used to watch the Wendy Williams YouTube channel nonstop, because that's when she answered fan emails or letters and whatnot with Tristan. Always like following her around with the camera. So this is really sad. And also I've had family members who have suffered from dementia and sadly passed away from it. And I know that it really does shift. You can't take care of yourself at one point.
Yeah.
Like you really become dependent on your family or the nursing staff that your family hires. So it's really devastating to see the person that you knew and loved, and they become totally a different person. Yeah. And I don't know if this was a comment. I believe it was that someone said maybe this documentary will help the family. What's the word? Guardianship over Wendy, and I really do hope that is the case. And one last thing, it's a full moon in Virgo. This is a time for healing, transformation. And I think it's very interesting that this documentary is coming out when it is, because two things. One, Wendy needs to heal, but also two, what is the next chapter that we as viewers are supposed to embark on? So I just want to put that out there. But anyway, have a fabulous day. Enjoy your Sunday, Boo. Bye-bye.
You too. Take care. Bye. All right, we're going to, guys, if you're just joining us, we are taking callers that are weighing in on the Where is Wendy Williams documentary that technically episode 1 and 2 aired last night. Episodes 3 and 4 will air tonight on Lifetime. All right, let's get to some more callers so I can get out of here and get some lunch. Dewan, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Kempire? How you doing?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm well. I'm calling from glorious Miami.
Must be nice.
I'm down here with Wendy. But I feel terrible. I really, really do. I loved her show. And I think that's missing. That, the style that she brought to TV is missing. Sherry Shepherd, Jennifer Hudson, they're okay, but they're not Wendy Williams.
Yeah.
And so it's incredibly sad. I did not have a chance to watch it. Obviously, I'm on vacation, but I just see the clips. And so it's incredibly sad. My grandmother passed away last year from dementia. And so, I feel for her and her family, and I hope all is well. And lastly, before I close out, because I'm not sure if you're going to do a video on it, go Portia, go. Okay? Get that man's money. See you later.
What money?
Hey, you're right. He ain't got none.
What buddy? Look, what buddies was Simon Gobadia have? All right, on to Eva's backstage. We're going to bring her up next. On to Eva. What's going on?
Hey, Kempire, long time no speak to.
Yes, how are you?
I'm good. I have been keeping up with your travels, though. I wanted to say I'm a therapist who works in long-term care, and I see this a lot. It does affect younger people, in 50s and whatnot. And it's so sad to see. Um, I hope that Wendy is in a long-term care situation, and I'm hoping that they can, the family can get a hold of it in the legal process to get her in Florida so that they can be with her. Um, she can even be at home for a certain amount of time with care coming into the home to assist them, because it is a lot to take care of someone who has this type of any really type of dementia. So yeah, it was just extremely sad to see, and my prayer is that the family will be able to obtain guardianship and care over her.
Most definitely. Thank you, Auntie Eva, for calling in. Nice hearing from you.
You too.
Bye. All right. We're going to take a couple more callers. We got NYCMP backstage. We're going to bring her up next. NYCMP, what's going on? What are your thoughts on this Where is Wendy Williams documentary?
Well, first of all, I would like to remind everybody that dementia and Alzheimer's have roots in cardiovascular health. So we're still 3 months, cardiovascular health being a major cause of death in this population. Please, go to the doctor, get your blood pressure checked, get your lipids checked, get your vitamin D checked. Vitamin D plays a role too. Is just there's preventable measures that can be had and are missed, especially in, unfortunately, the New York City boroughs and population. The medical care is not the best, and it's very horrible. But I hope that she's got the best of the best of the care, and like Wendy Williams has been there as that friend in my head. You too, Kempire, and also your community has gotten me personally through a lot of things, and also I've actually prescribed patients of mine, like, listen, you don't need the Xanax. Here's what you need. You need to listen to these people, talk about these things, and cry your truth, because that's what Wendy let us do. And I thank you for her. And God bless everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Important, and this is why it's also important to make sure that you're going to your doctor as well, your annual as well. All right, we have Nashia, I think is how you pronounce it. Nashia, is how you pronounce your name?
Very close. Thank you so much.
How are you?
It's Nashia. How are
Nashia.
you, my love?
I'm doing well.
I'm going to be very quick. I was never the biggest Wendy Williams fan, but I don't wish this on anyone. My heart really breaks for her, and I pray that she gets the right people on her side, because I don't want to see someone who built up their empire to be brought down by evil people. It reminds me of Michael Jackson, and I just don't want her to go there.
Yeah.
So I pray that she finds the best people for her. My grandmother had Alzheimer's, and it was the worst disease. I have sickle cell, and it's worse than sickle cell. So I just really hope that Wendy gets the best people in her life, because that Sean girl and that Will guy, they're not the best. And I pray that her family gets to her before they get to her. Thanks so much for your time, my love.
Thank you. Take care. I wonder how much access Sean and Will have to Wendy now. I wonder if they have more access than the family does. Because the family, like I said to you guys before, the family has no access to her unless Wendy calls them herself. Anuli's backstage. We're going to bring up Anuli next. What's going on, Anuli? What were your thoughts on this documentary?
Hi, Kempire. Can you hear me?
Barely. Where are you?
Oh, downtown Brooklyn.
Oh, now I hear you. You sound better now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I wrote notes, okay?
Okay.
So, first of all, Kevin Jr., he is wise beyond his years because of all the things he's went through. It makes me so sad because he's like 22 years old and he can decipher, the reason why my mom has been an alcoholic for a long time and she has overcompensated because she knew she was an alcoholic. That really hurt my heart that he knew that at his young age. I have an unpopular opinion. I feel like Will Shelby was being sincere. I feel like Sean was being sincere. It was kind of hard to watch Wendy kind of abuse Sean.
Yeah.
It was very hard for me to watch. And then the producers too, when they wanted to cut for the day, you hear gossip, but you're actually seeing it. And it's just like that should open your perspective of what could be happening. And then the whole vape situation, that really like hurt my heart. Like it was just like very hard to watch for like, and I think they did a good job as well documenting just documenting how her dementia has progressed. Not just, oh, is this happening now? So and also part 2, it came out midnight. So I recorded, I didn't get to watch it, but if you want to watch part 2, they had it at midnight. Early.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Nice to talk to you.
You
Bye.
too. Take care. All right. We have Rachel backstage. We're going to bring Rachel up next to share her thoughts on this documentary. Rachel, what's going on?
Thank you for having me, Kempire.
Of course.
Like I said to you, it was extremely hard to watch. So I got to see episode 1 and 2. And like you guys, obviously, we're all fans. I grew up on Wendy Williams. And there's just something weird. When I was watching the documentary, I think we've all seen sort of like celebrities or heard of celebrities who've gone through similar experiences like Michael Jackson and so forth, but we've never seen it on front view. We've never seen someone's demise in our eyes. So it's just very sad. And I just wanted to know, do you guys also feel like she's been suffering from this for a very long time, but maybe that her ex-husband was just using her for money for the very longest time, and he was just living his life on the side? That's all I wanted to ask. But yeah,
definitely. I definitely think, I don't know if it was 100% intentional, but he was definitely propping her up because look, his life has completely changed since they've departed working together and being in a relationship. So he benefited. Maybe, I don't know if he knew it on a conscious level that he was doing that. And maybe in his head, he rationalized, oh, I'm helping her. I don't know. But clearly there was some conflict of interest happening at the same time.
Well, thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts, and please take care.
You too. Take care.
Hopefully we'll see you in Paris soon.
Yes. Bye. All right, we have Leah backstage. We're going to take a couple more calls, guys, and round out our recap of part 1 of the Where is Wendy Williams documentary. If you're part of the replay crew, be sure to like the video, be sure to subscribe, and be sure to let us know your thoughts on some of the elements that stood out to you from this documentary. We're going to bring up Leah next. Leah, what were your thoughts on this documentary?
Hi, how are you?
Oh, well, how are you?
I'm good. I don't know if you touched on it because I just kind of tuned in. What are your thoughts about Wendy having that cash, being in a conservatorship, having that cash, but yet she's selling off things? I didn't quite get that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
It was quite concerning, especially when he pulled out the cash. He's like, why is this cash here? Apparently Will gave her the cash. I don't know where from. And he opened a separate account for her. I don't know what that's about. It was a little interesting. And where is that account now?
I think everyone around her now needs to go.
Yeah.
They all need to go. They're feeding her the alcohol. They're just thinking about their way of life. Yeah, it was really, really, I don't think I'm going to watch the second part because it was just really, really sad.
Yeah.
Really, really upsetting. So I wish her the best. And you too. I loved your show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Take care, Leah.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean, I warned you guys. I said, if you're going to watch this, you got to prepare yourself emotionally because it's going to be intense. There's a lot that's happening. It's probably going to be triggering, especially for people that have dealt with folks with addiction or with dementia. You're getting all of those elements. And if you remembered Wendy a certain way, it's hard because that is not the Wendy. Yes, there are glimmers of Wendy in this documentary, but it's definitely not the Wendy that you may have grown up to know and love. All right. We're going to bring up T next. Hold on. T, what's going on?
Hey, Dimples, how are you?
Oh, well, how are you?
I'm good. Yes, the documentary was very sad, and I have a cousin whose mother is dealing with Alzheimer's. So, with Alex said about them losing, and every time that time is spent away and coming back, it's like losing them all over again. So I think that was very poignant. But one of the things that I take issue with is the judge and the guardianship, because I'm not understanding. I do understand that Kevin Jr. was young and maybe they thought the financial part he wouldn't have the experience to deal with that. But it just seemed like they would have just helped put people in place to help him manage her finances better. Now, him being exposing about his mother drinking and so on and so forth. He's probably one of the better people to help take care of because he's probably been doing it for a long time, even, as a teenager or maybe even preteen now that we know Wendy has been drinking and abusing drugs for so long.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to say that, but they need to, come back and readdress this guardianship.
Definitely.
But thank you, everybody. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks to you too. Bye. Here's the thing. I think that's part of the reason why the current Guardian doesn't want this documentary to be seen, because it may raise issues based off the public saying, what is happening here? This needs to be revisited. So we shall see. I do remember the original report that we did this week in regards to this. Apparently, the family hasn't contested the guardianship, according to this report. I don't know if they've since changed that, but we shall see. We shall see. All right. We're going to take one last caller. Demi, we're going to bring you up next. You're going to be our last caller. What were your thoughts on the Where is Wendy Williams documentary that aired last night, part 1, that aired on Lifetime last night?
Hi, Kempire. My thoughts are quite a few, but just for the time of the show. I think a lot of people are looking at this as a Wendy Williams celebrity illness, a Wendy Williams experience, the Wendy Williams show, and not as a real person experiencing something that's happening to them that is really terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm child free. My husband and I are remaining child free, and we're always getting asked, who will take care of you in your old age or if you get sick? And looking at this thing with Wendy, it's like no one that she probably would have trusted in her right mind is able to even take care of her.
Yeah.
So I do think this should bring on maybe some new laws, some legislations, something to really determine who is really fit to govern your estate. It seems like this person, Sabrina, is not the right person at all from what we've seen, what we've heard.
No.
And it just really, I think it should force a bigger conversation than about a celebrity having an illness, more of a real person having an illness. It's just my thoughts. I hope to see you in Atlanta. I'll be there.
Thank you, Demi. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. All right, guys, if you're just joining us, we are talking about the Wendy Williams documentary that aired last night. If you're part of the replay crew, be sure to let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for all of the likes, for all the support, the super chats. BK Finance, thank you so much for the super chat. BK Finance says, whatever deals the team was securing for Wendy are dead now that the people have seen this documentary. They may as well find a new scam victim. And can our internet sleuths expose these chumps? Look, I think at this point, these folks I don't know if they're still actively working on Wendy's behalf, because I don't think Wendy's working at all. I know she would like to work. I know when Alex said in the View interview that she every time she talks to her aunt Wendy's always talking about working. That I think for Wendy is sort of who she is. She's always been working for a very long time, and she liked working. So she's always talking about getting back to doing that. But that's not important. And that's what Alex continues to say to her aunt. She's like, you don't have to work anymore. You've worked long enough, hard enough. You don't have to work anymore. I don't know if Will Selby or Sean Zanotti are still actively working for Wendy. I don't know their connection to the Guardians and the health advocates that are in place. I don't know. But this is part of the reason why I believe the Guardian sued A&E in trying to prevent this from being revealed, because now the public is going to say, what is happening here? The family has no contact with Wendy. The family has no idea where she is. That cannot happen. Even if you don't feel as if Kevin Jr. is the right person right now to govern over the estate and things like that, someone in this family should be, and they should have access. And they should have access to her, especially in these years, these last few years of her life. Guys, we will continue this conversation on the Wendy Williams documentary, Where is Wendy Williams? Part 2 of the documentary Where is Wendy Williams will air tonight on Lifetime. Thank you to everyone that called in. Thank you to everyone that sent in a super chat. We appreciate you all being here. I will see you all in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. And if you live in Philly, don't forget to get your tickets. March 7th, we will be in Philly for our Kempire After Dark live show where we will talk about hot topics like this one and so much more. We're coming to Boston on May 30th. We're coming to Nashville on July 11th. And then we will be in Atlanta on July 12th. More cities will be announced soon. So make sure that you're following and your notifications are on so you don't miss out on any of those details. For everything Kempire, head on over to the description of this video or audio. If you're listening to this, you can also take us on the go by downloading the Kempire podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to everyone that called in. Thank you to everyone that was a part of the live chat. Thank you to our channel members. And of course, thank you to our King's Guards for holding us down. We appreciate them. I will see you guys later. Have a great rest of your day. We're going to play this again because this is important to hear.
It was hard to hear that Wendy Williams is suffering from frontotemporal dementia, the same kind that Bruce Willis is. She's only 59 years old. She had to stop production of her show 2 years ago because of her early signs of frontotemporal dementia, which was, in this case, aphasia. Now, aphasia is finding the right word, which we all have sometimes difficulty doing, but it can become constant and more difficult, and that is an early sign of a brain problem. Frontotemporal dementia has to do with the frontal part of the brain, this frontal lobe of the brain, which is the filter. That is also, think about someone who has alcohol. The more alcohol you drink, the more you shut down that filter. People who drink a lot of alcohol will say things they would never normally say in public. People with frontotemporal dementia will say things and do things that one would never do in public because that frontal lobe is not developed properly. It's just deteriorating over time from dementia. The reasons people get dementia are complex. We know some of them. We know that she suffered from addictions of cocaine and alcoholism. Both of those are an increased risk of dementia. Other things that can cause an increased risk of dementia include histories of depression, people who have poor diets, age, male sex. Those are other things. And even though there are certain things that we can do to decrease our risk of dementia, for example, a Mediterranean-style diet decreases your risk of dementia by those who adhere to it by as much as 53%. That's not zero. It still means people can still get it. It just means that we can reduce your risk of getting it. And we are going to hear more and more about dementia as time goes on. Now, some people will say it's all the statins being out there. Statins do not increase your risk of dementia. They actually decrease your risk of dementia. And specifically, they will decrease something called vascular dementia, which is what my mother suffered from. My mother, like Wendy Williams, had a fierce brain. And it is so hard seeing someone with that brilliant brain, that great intelligence, slowly lose it. Just for a few things, they estimate that she has about 12 to 13 years left of life because that's what happens with that type of dementia. Vascular dementia, like my mother had, was about a 5-year course. Alzheimer's, about a 12 to 14-year-old course. Why? What happens to the brain? The brain deteriorates so much that it actually loses its ability to do the executive functions involved in breathing, involved in heart rate, involved in all those things your body needs. And that's what ultimately people die from when they have dementia. So, horrible disease. We have 6.5 million people now who are suffering from it. It's going to only continue unless we have medical breakthroughs. But what you can do to help decrease your risk of this, can't decrease it to zero again, fruits, vegetables, Mediterranean-style diet, exercise, talking, social communications. Keep your brain active by learning new things and doing all that. That's the best you can do. And as soon as we have a medical breakthrough, I promise I will be on here immediately touting it. Until then, do the things that you can do. Eat well, live well, enjoy the life, use your brain. Thanks. If you like this, like, follow, share.
It's been way too long, I've been building walls around me. Keep my distance so you never know too much about me. Trying to keep you out cause I love my safe space. But the problem is I never looked into my own face. Am I ashamed of myself? Am I afraid of my emotions? Am I ashamed of myself? Am I afraid of my emotions? We let it go, will you hold it inside? It's hard to take the blame, I know it doesn't feel right. We let it go, will you hold it inside? You're more than just your past, you're more than what you realize. We let it go, will you hold it inside? It's hard to take the blame, I know it doesn't feel right. We let it go, will you hold it inside? You're more than just your past, you're more than what you realize. It's been way too long, I've been building walls around me. Keep my distance so you never know too much about me. Trying to keep you out cause I love my safe space. But the problem is I never looked into my own face. Am I ashamed of myself? Am I afraid of my emotions? Am I ashamed of myself? Am I afraid of my emotions? Yeah. We let it go, will you hold it inside? It's hard to take the blame, I know it doesn't feel right. We let it go, will you hold it inside? You're more than just your past, you're more than what you realize. We let it go, will you hold it inside? It's hard to take the blame, I know it doesn't feel right. We let it go, will you hold it inside? You're more than just your past, you're more than what you realize.
You bring the lighter.